Okay, welcome guys to another video. In this video today, I just want to talk about the steering of an old classic whaler. Behind me is a 1986 Boston Whaler Montauk. You guys have seen it in my previous videos. Awesome boat, love it. However, I noticed recently when I was driving it that the steering just finally started to just really be difficult. So I knew there was a problem. So I want to talk to you today about how to fix it. I want to kind of take you with me as I fix it. But before I do, I want to talk about how you know or how you diagnose what's wrong with your steering. First of all, if the steering is not working properly, obviously something's wrong, but there's really three places that you can have problems when it comes to steering. The first is obviously with the motor. The steering itself could be blocked down here, or it could be blocked in the steering tube itself with junk, preventing the motor from really swinging easily. Second place it could be, and the most common, is through the steering cable. Now I've removed the steering cable, but I have actually two cables here, the new one and the old one. But this is what the old one looks like right here. And over time, this sheathing, the black sheathing, will crack or just get dry, and eventually it breaks. It's amazing that it's lasted that long. I mean, it's a 1986 boat, so it's been a lot of years. So how you know something's wrong with that is then you go up to the helm, and I've also removed all this stuff, but basically with the cable removed from the motor, then you can just turn the helm. If it's still having difficulty, then of course it's going to be one of the two things. Now it's either going to be the helm itself, and the helm that was on the boat is this. It looks like this. Like this. Now this was mounted behind the dashboard, and there was nothing wrong with this. It worked perfectly. And the reason I knew that is because, here I'll show you. This old helm, this is the original again, by the way, it has threading here, so you actually screw on the old cable system. And I'll show you. This is the new one. There is no actual nut on it, and the old one has this. Okay, so this thing moved perfectly. So actually, nothing's wrong with that. The problem, though, is that nowadays these parts don't make the exact same things. I could not find a cable. Just a replacement cable that you just threaded on. So I had to get a whole new system. And the thing is, the systems aren't that expensive anyways, at least the basic ones. So you might as well just go with a new system. So what I went with, just because I figured I want to get the best mechanical cable steering I can, is I decided to go with the Seastar Xtreme. Now, Teleflex was acquired by Seastar. I don't know when, but a few years ago. So Seastar is now the main maker of all steering systems, for boats. And the one thing to do is, if you're going to replace your steering system on a classic Montauk or Boston Whaler 17-foot Montauk, you have to get 18 feet of cable length. So when you buy one of these packages, they come in different cable lengths. So this is an Xtreme no feedback mechanical steering kit from Seastar, and it's 18-foot cable length. So just remember that, it's got to be 18 feet. I'll link some descriptions, all these things I'm talking about, in the description of the video. Okay, so that's the gist. I realized that there definitely was a problem with the cable. I went ahead and replaced the whole system. Now I'm installing the new system. There's going to be two issues with installing this. The first issue that I was running up against was this bezel. Okay, this is the original bezel. It's metal, it's awesome, it's high quality. As far as I know, they don't make them like that anymore, which is another attribute to these old boats. The parts are awesome. And again, it's lasted so long and it's still great. So my dilemma was this. I've since put this back on, but if I took this off, you'd see there'd be a hole cut in the dashboard. That hole is not big enough to fit the new mounting system. So you have a choice. You either can adapt the old one, or you can cut a bigger hole. I am against cutting holes if not needed on a boat, so I didn't want to do that. The other thing is, if you decide to cut the hole, you have to use this new bezel, and this is plastic, which is okay, it's no big deal, but it's wider, it's actually wider than this. And what happens is it's actually wider, if you can see, and it basically doesn't fit in between the dash. It comes out a little wider, so that becomes another problem. So if you have the original bezel, you really want to try and use it. So the thing you're going to want to do, though, is you're going to want to get 3-inch stainless steel hex bolts that look like this. The ones that were used were longer, just because that's the way it worked with the old system, but you're really going to have to get smaller ones, and I'll again link all this stuff down in the description, when you're trying to use the existing or the old bezel and remounting the new steering system. So keep that in mind. So I got the old bezel going. Now I'm going to mount the steering behind it. That's step number 1. Once that's all secure and the steering wheel's up and everything, then the second part is going to be, I have to fish the cable, the steering cable, underneath through that channel underneath the boat and up through that opening, if you can see it, hopefully it's not too dark, out, and then connect it to where the steering will be, which will be up here. The problem with this, which I can see is going to be a little difficult, is there's not a lot of room down below the console to work with, and this channel that I'm fishing the line through, it goes up the center of the boat. But if you notice that opening over there, and it looks crooked, but that's only because I took the screws out, that opening is on the right side of the console. So I'm going to have to kind of do some maneuvering underneath this console to fish it up through there, and that's not a lot of room. And that cable, although it's pliable, is not that easy to work with. So we'll tackle that next. We may not get to it tonight because it's getting dark, but I definitely want to get the steering in, so I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so 2 Lowe's runs later, I finally got the right length bolts. So now I know that, I think I said before 3 or 3.5 inches. The bolts that actually work for this are 2.5 inches. They're 2.5 inch, they're 1/4 inch by 2.5 inch hex nuts, stainless steel. And you can see there's 3 of them, 1, 2, and there was 1 back there. Those are the 3, and what that does is it attaches the steering system to the inside of this bezel, and it's real strong. So now what I need to do is mount the steering wheel, and then I got to tackle the cables, but I think I'll do that tomorrow. So see you then. All right, welcome to day 2 of the boat project. Today, what I'm hoping to get accomplished, if I have enough sunlight, is I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to try and run the steering cable in the channel and get it to the console. Hopefully that will go smoothly, but I have a feeling it won't. And then while I'm doing it, I'm going to take this old battery cable right here that you see, that's really, it just goes to the console where the battery used to be, and I'm actually going to pull that all the way through and attach the transducer to it, so my transducer cable is run at the same time. And I don't know, we'll see how it goes. All right, mission accomplished. I got the cable in. You can see this is the top part right here. And actually it was a lot easier than I thought. but it came up through here and it's sitting down there in the very back. You'll see it. But basically what I have to do is I have to take that plastic sheathing off that, and it's just going to be really greasy. I have to fish it through the top hole up here, and then I'm going to spin the wheel counterclockwise, the steering wheel, and it's going to pull it through and push it out, and it's going to lock. Once it locks, I'll hear a click. Then I put the pin back in it to secure it, and then I cover this exposed greasy part with the tube. This is the tube right here. Good morning, you guys. Another day here working on the boat. Just today I'm going to do the finishing touches. Kind of ran out of daylight the past 2 nights when I was doing this because I worked all day. So I didn't have enough time to work on this until the night. So it's now Saturday morning, I had plenty of time, and I had some good success though. So in the last episode, I think I may have ran out of, or my microphone wasn't turned on, but I found out a great solution for running the cable, the steering cable from the back to the console. I actually didn't realize that it would be as easy as it was. But what I wound up doing is I removed the cooler that's in front of the console. And if you can see down there, you can see the opening underneath the console. I don't know if you can see that right there. But it was so much easier for me to actually grab the cable. So I brought the cable in, I actually pulled it out here and turned it and shaped it around in a circle, and then fished it through, and it was the way to go. So anyways, I got it working. So this is what it looks like. If you can see, I don't know if I got this, the cable goes in the top and it fishes through. And this is now, this black thing here is a cover. It's just like a cap, so the grease doesn't get everywhere, and the cable snaps in, and it works perfectly. All right, so the fun thing we're going to do today, and really the final step, is we're going to attach the steering cable, or the shaft, this thing. It's got to have to bend it, and it's got to go into this tube so that the motor can be reattached. However, one of the things I'm going to do now, just since it's a good opportunity to do it, is I want to clean this tube out just to make sure that any kind of grime or rust deposits or anything is cleaned off the inner lining. That way, when I re-grease it, it's perfect. So what I found to do that job is this. I went on Amazon, and I found this brush. I think it's a 1/2-inch brush. Obviously it's too short. So I went to Lowe's and bought one of these 12-inch extension bars. And so I can attach this in there and put it in the drill, and it should do the trick. I will link all this stuff in the description of the video, but that's what we're gonna do. So let's get started. Okay guys, so this I thought would work great, but what I found is that this part right here is too wide. You know, it goes in, but when I get to that point, I can't go any further. So anyways, the solution, the key would be to find something like this that doesn't have quite as thick of a top. And I don't know if that's possible, because you really want it strong so that this thing doesn't get stuck in there and pull out. So I'll work on a better solution, but in any case, I could tell that this is pretty darn clean, so I don't have any worries. So I'm going to go ahead and continue, but that's a solution I'll have to try and fix. So you want to make sure this is closed all the way when you start, just so you have enough room to put it in. And then once it's in, you're going to slide it all the way in. And then you're going to actually attach this, but I'm going to grease that as well. Now you need a big Allen or a crescent wrench, and that's going to be used to tighten this. Okay, so once the ram or the steering tube is put through the tube in the motor and it's sitting there like this, you're going to want to mount the motor to it. But before you do that, you have to do a couple things, really one thing. This piece right here, this goes on and screws onto this end first. Actually, I might put a little more grease here. Okay, now we're going to put this in. Okay, so I reattached it, used a couple washers. I just have to snug that lock nut down. I would recommend replacing or using a brand new lock nut. I'm just using the one that was on there before, just temporarily, because I want to make sure I have good threading on it, and you just don't want this to somehow work its way loose over time. But that's basically it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it now and I'll test it. I'll show you how it works. So there you have it, guys. That's how to replace the steering on a classic Boston Whaler Montauk. If you have any questions, definitely shoot me a message, and I'll have all the links to all the items that I used in the description of this video. Have a great day.